Sons of Kryos.
Hi, I'm Jeff.
And I'm Judd.
And we are
the Sons of Kryos. And our show is about play.
And everything that happens at the gaming table.
Sometimes we will venture under the gaming table.
Sometimes we'll go to the fridge.
Or the bookshelf.
And sometimes we'll go to the computer.
But we're always going to try to keep our show centered around that game table. That's our home. That's what the show is about. That's what interests us.
We're here with Keith Senkowski, who created Conspiracy of Shadows, but often will not demo it. What's up, Keith?
Hey, what's going on,
Sebastian? So you've made Conspiracy of Shadows, and you also made a game for the Ronnies.
Yes, I did.
Cool. Let's talk about Conspiracy of Shadows. We'll come back to the game you made for the Ronnies. I think it's kind of interesting. Tell us about Conspiracy of Shadows. Give us the spiel.
Okay. The spiel. Conspiracy of Shadows is a game where you create a cell of essentially resistant fighters. Basically, good guy terrorists would be the best way to describe them.
Wow.
And they are fighting against an oppressive conspiracy of some sort that is defined by the group led by the game master.
Yeah.
And the whole ball of wax is tossed into a medieval Eastern European analog. But like the really core of the game is pushing players to see how far they're willing to go to figure this out, and you know what kind of depths of depravity they're willing to go into in order to bust out this conspiracy. It's really a tragic game because everyone's.
Oh, it's entirely. Jeff and I actually play it on a monthly basis, and someone came to me and said, "I want to play a pirate game," and I for 2 weeks I just kind of stewed on what to use, and then I realized, wow, the cell can be the crew, and we made up a crew, and it worked really well.
It's one of the best games I've been in, man.
It's excellent. Everyone's really pumped for it, and it's getting to this point now, after about a year of play, where when the players are done hunting the conspiracy, they will be a conspiracy that someone else will have to hunt. Like that might be
awesome.
which is exactly kind of what I would have wanted. And I didn't railroad it; it just happened. Like it just was this organic beast that is roaring out of control. Tell us about Destiny Points. I feel like that's at the crux of it.
Destiny Points are like a huge mechanical element of the game. Basically what happens is players can spend these points in order to introduce any sort of narrative fact that does not kill a named player or end a conflict, which is just a huge amount of control in a single swoop, and can add additional conflicts to a conflict, can bring in stuff that they want to bring in, and really drives play. The game master, I'm a lazy GM, I don't want to do so what it really does is it allows the game master to really see what the players want and then just respond to that.
Yeah, it turns the game on its ear. I mean, Jeff is my all-star Destiny Point user, and
nice.
he routinely does things where we all look back on the game and we're like, where was the turning point? And it's like, oh, it's when Jeff spent that Destiny point and made the game go off in this direction.
Yeah.
It's my favorite thing about the system. It is just, I mean, what's cooler than a player being able to say, hey, this is what I want.
Right.
You know, and getting it in there somehow, you know.
No, it's absolutely lovely. And Keith is also running. So I'll have a link to the actual play posts of the Pirates Fight of Lovecraftian Evil. And Keith, you're also running a Ravenloft game with it.
Yeah, I just started a Ravenloft using basically to kind of highlight that my game does the tragic nature of Ravenloft so much better than everything out there. You can quote me on that.
Don't be shy.
Yeah.
We are quoting you right now.
Nice.
It's happening.
Nice. Yeah, but I'm using it to run Ravenloft. I basically took out all the dumb elements of Ravenloft and tons of elves and all that crap. Who needs that? It's a human tragedy. We're talking gothic horror here.
Yeah.
And threw it in kind of like a 17th century France sort of deal going on with everything, and
cool.
It's running really well right now. And we left off at a cliffhanger, and it's going to require someone to use their Doom,
Nice.
which is exactly what you want.
Doom is the other mechanic that I'm really digging. My girlfriend is playing a character who, after a couple of games, she was like, I don't like this guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's amoral and terrible, and I don't know if I want to play him anymore. And it was like, well, then spend your Doom.
Yeah.
And she has, like, every time she gets into a conflict, it's like, Doom,
Mm-hmm.
I get out of it. And, like, she's one step closer to just going out in a blaze of glory. And
That's
it's
awesome.
nice. She's just pushing that Doom button every time she can, which is nice.
So have you played Conspiracy of Shadows at this convention at all?
Hey, what the hell?
Rainbows?
Rainbows. Ah, yes.
Answer Jeff's question.
It's Jeff's question. Yeah, I actually ran it twice this week. I ran it before the convention over at BWHQ with Luke Crane, whose name gets mentioned again. He who shall not be named. That bitch. So played a 4-player game over there, same scenario. It's a blood opera, last days of Noble House. Everyone's crazy tension, brother versus brother with, in that game turned out to be unrequited gay love, and it was awesome. It was awesome. It totally f***ing rocked. And there was, a book bound in human flesh, and it just kept pushing the boundaries, and it ended with the one brother invoking his doom at the end to win the conflict, and then his doom was that his soul got sent to hell and he got possessed by the demon Dark Lord, and the family just kept cycling on in the cycle of death and violence and just utter disgusting.
The second time?
And the second time I ran it last night, and it went a slightly different direction, which I've found every time I've run this scenario, because Destiny Points and Doom really allow people to take it in whatever direction they want, regardless of how the loose setup is. And this time it ended up in a big bloodbath in a cave with flames and chaos and 3 people dying and 3 people surviving, and it was nice.
Awesome. Someone's holding up a sign that says rainbows.
Yes, because you must remember this is a hard-ass game, so it's Conspiracy of Shadows, not Conspiracy of Rainbows.
Very nice.
I'll have to remember that.
Keith, any other gaming that went on during the con?
Yes. You must now all burn your role-playing game books, because we have found the wave of the future, and it is Jungle Speed, bitches. This is the greatest game ever. I swear to God, it is like doing drugs. It's awesome.
We will have a link to Jungle Speed in case you want to give up.
There's no in case. It's going to just take a little bit of time, and it's going to spread, and everybody's going to be hooked.
I also think, Jeff, we shouldn't nullify his curse words. We should get a beep in there. I want to. Beep
you're gonna beep 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 beep.
Yeah, because I think that would accentuate it. I think that's
isn't Morse code.
This is Keith Senkowski talking.
Yeah.
Beep. Yeah.
But let me talk about Jungle Speed, please. Even though it's this crazy French game, I gotta talk about it.
Go for it, man.
All
right.
We can cut this out later.
You Judd. It's like Uno on crack, I guess is the only way to describe it. You're matching.
It's like Uno meets Egyptian rat screw.
Yeah, pretty much. That's a good way of describing it. You flip cards, you match up the shapes. When the certain cards come in, you match colors. Sometimes you match. Sometimes it's an all flip thing. Sometimes it's an all grab, and there's a totem in the center, and that's the key here. Because every time something matches, you got to shoot your hand out like a snake to get that totem, And God, is that a rush? Every time you win, you're just like and it creates so much trash talk. It's such because Luke Crane, Tor, they're my bitches, and I own them.
Keith, let's have you on again, and we can talk about the Ronnies in your entry.
Oh, excellent.
Let's make a Skype appointment, because I think that's like a whole
totally.
interview on
yeah,
itself.
I finally got that thing working. So.
Yeah,
nice.
I think it's a really neat PDF. I really think it's amazing. So
cool.
And I'll have a chance to look it over.
And you'll have a chance. Jeff will have a chance to look it over.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
Let's do that. Well, maybe we can talk about the Ronnies as like a thing too. I think that needs to be talked about on our show.
Yeah, totally.
Cool. Thanks for coming.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thanks,
Keith.
guys.
Thank you.
It's fun.
Hi, we're here with Luke Crane, who does Burning Wheel, and if you've listened to our show ever, you know that. and I'm not going to give any more introduction or what Burning Wheel is, and we might not even put a link because you can't find it.
Who should not be named.
Jeff played in Luke's con scenario, The Inheritance, and he's pretty jazzed about it.
Last night,
Luke, do you want to just tell us kind of give us a little bit of a spiel on what it is, and then let's talk about it and how it went.
I can do it in 2 words and 1 sentence. Viking funeral plus the prodigal son returns. That's it. That's the scenario.
Yeah, that sums it up.
Jeff, what jazzed you about it?
I have played in a number of Luke's demos, and some of them multiple times.
By demo you mean con scenario, not like a
I'm sorry, con scenario.
Okay.
And demos, so it's a bad habit.
Yeah, no, it's not a bad habit. I just want to be clear that people don't think it's I don't want them to think it's a Viking funeral that takes 10 minutes.
No, definitely not.
It takes a lifetime.
So the con scenario was where I played the prodigal son, but Luke, you should explain it. You know more of the details. I only know like my character pretty much.
I don't want to know about what happened. I want to know about what jazzed you on it. What turned you on?
What turned me on to it was the character that I played was a Christian, and there was this
secretly a Christian,
and there was this conflict about converting the Vikings to Christianity.
Yeah.
Partially to get the inheritance.
Right.
But also for their own like individual motivations. And myself being a Christian, I really don't like to be pushy about my religion.
Yeah.
And the character that I played wasn't at all. But I really identified with the character.
Yeah.
And some really amazing scenes came from this whole thing.
I can well imagine that. I know I've been in a room with Jeff where we're with a bunch of gamers and Christian bashing happens because of something that happened in the 80s that was on 60 Minutes where like a Christian group said that gaming was bad, and what is it, 25 years later, gamers still find license to just be to just Christian bash,
Well, so what's fascinating to me, I'm fairly irreligious, but I wanted, family, loyalty, and religion, and basically, greed or desire for wealth to be 3 of the main themes for this scenario. So, this scenario to me is almost like a petri dish of how these conversions could have happened, and how they could have been legitimate, in their way, like how they would have been based on, these temporal emotions at the time. Some of them would have been religious, like purely religious conversions. Some of them would have been these decisions like, I have to do this because of these 16-ton weights on either side of me, that are dragging me down. And Jeff told me after the game, he's like, I really connected with that. He's like, as a Christian, I really connected with this character. So that as a game designer and as a game master, that fascinates me. That where you're taking your values and you're connecting with them, because other people have played that character differently. And that obviously when you see a character in a con scenario and with other players whom you don't know, you have moments to make your connection with the character, and you kind of pick 1 or 2 aspects of the character that you're going to showcase.
You pick one belief and you highlight it, and the rest are there, but there's that one highlighted belief that occurred to you that was like, wow, that's something I feel.
Mm-hmm.
So it was interesting that you connected with the Christian aspect of that character in a way that no one else who's played that character yet has, whereas the player who played the prodigal son's father also has a religious belief. It's a pagan religious belief, and he did not connect with the pagan religious belief. He connected with the beliefs about family and about that son, and about the son breaking the law. So suddenly the kind of this value system that Jeff had invested in kind of hit the scale with a heavy weight, and since the other player wasn't counterbalancing with that, so it didn't become this like clash of ideology. It was Jeff's play was incredibly earnest, and his kind of retelling of some of the moments in the character's past and whatnot was deeply affecting. And so I asked Jeff afterwards, what was going on in your head?
What really shocked the hell out of me in that, specifically with the father, is that there was a lot of 2 of the characters, my character's mother and the priest, were Christians, and they're really trying to influence the father to let me back into the family, my character, and I'm trying to just deal with that issue, getting back into the family, and through that whole conflict, which was huge and intense, the father ended up converting, and I was like, I was just stunned because like that wasn't my intent, you know.
Right.
I hadn't even really tried to do that, and it happened through that whole thing.
Just hearing about the scenario, I'm seeing the parallels, you know, in your life of where like you went away to Louisiana, and when you came back, I feel like God was much more a part of your life than when you left.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm just seeing like
wow.
I'm just seeing.
Is that true?
Yeah.
I'm just seeing like a parallel where it's like you went away from your very tight family, and you came back much more religious than you were. I can see you as that Viking son just in your life, you know, in a lot of ways. Like I'm a step away where I didn't play in the con scenario and I didn't live your life, obviously.
Right.
I see that connection.
Do you think you made that connection?
Yeah, a little bit. Definitely. I mean, I'm not the big Viking, but
I'm not petite either.
No. All right. We're getting off topic a little bit.
So where do you think that connection like sparked for you? I mean, you said so you were entreating this other player on lines of family, and it turned inadvertently into a religious conflict. So obviously there were religious undertones.
The connection was really with the character's view of Christianity and how I felt that he showed it, because one of I think it was my instinct, was not to reveal my faith to anybody but close family. And I didn't really get an opportunity to do that, but the character, and as well as my personal beliefs, I'm not pushy about my faith, and I really don't like that. So the character and it could have just been like the way I was seeing, you know, through the rose-tinted glasses or whatever, was just built to be that, you know. He had a Viking bodyguard who was not of the faith. So, you know, I felt, well, if he's got a really good friend who's this bodyguard who's not a Christian, you know, I don't see him being pushy about it. So it really just it fit, you know, the pieces fit together, and I really connected with it in that sense, that I felt I could play a character who wasn't pushy about it, and that for me really connected.
Cool. I think, did you find the situation, because I know you left home for really the first time for any length of time, and I hate to turn this into an interview about Jeff's life, but
that's what the game was about, though.
But you left home in real life, and you came back. Was there ever a point where you were sitting at the table and you were like, oh man, this is kind of like what happened when I left home and came back?
Well,
even subconsciously.
Not really, because only because, you know, the prodigal son in the game was like an outcast, whereas I just went away temporarily.
Okay.
You know, so not really at all. It was really more about being a Christian who was kind of in a place where people didn't really deal with his faith well.
Neat.
And the fact that, you know, he had, I don't want to say I have to hide it, because I don't,
right,
but I don't wear it on my sleeve and you know, throw it in people's faces.
Right. Nice.
Was the scenario ever too much for you? Did you ever feel overwhelmed by the themes that were going on? They were very obviously being expressed in the scenario.
No, actually I didn't. I thought it was awesome. There were obviously it's a completely different world than Jeff lives in, running around with swords and axes and whatnot. So there were certainly issues that Jeff as the character had to deal with that Jeff I don't think ever would. I hope I never would.
So how did you reconcile then your obviously religious beliefs in the scene where you had to give your brother the kiss of death, agree to let your brother die by your bodyguard's hand?
Wow, yeah, that one was really interesting. I was torn. My bodyguard, my best friend, was going to fight my brother, and neither of them were Christians, but I was torn. I really didn't know what to do, and I kind of just had to let it play out and, you know, show my forgiveness to whoever did survive.
Right.
And that was it.
Your behavior post-duel, post-murder, was was shocking. You kissed the bloody sword that had killed your brother, and then you turned to your best friend and said, "I forgive you."
Oh my goodness.
That was fucked up.
Wow. Well, I like I said, I identify with the character, and the guy who was playing my Viking bodyguard played him really nice, So I felt a real strong connection to him, and it was just Jeff was really like torn. I didn't know what to do. I was like, what that,
Right.
Yeah.
Of course
so it was good.
I think if there's an aha moment for this con, like a theme that's been running through the games that I've seen, it's been games connecting to real life, like games being strengthened through a connection to what's really going on in people's lives.
Right, fueled by that.
Right.
And just that making the fiction stronger. And even in the most, we're not Vikings and we're not going to Mars and we're not doing this, but I feel like that's been coming up. That's been coming up in game after game after game.
Right. One quick thing before we go, Luke.
Yeah.
How's the con been going for you? What what's lit the flame for you?
It's a very social, very enjoyable con. There's it's a lot of cool people. It seems like there's been a good schedule of games. It's actually been a very relaxing con for me. I've only run 1 day's worth of games, and as you guys know, I usually do 3. So
I notice you're able to talk right now.
Yeah, I actually have a voice on Sunday mornings. That's telling. It's nice, and I think this is. I'm seeing return faces, and I'm seeing people come back with their friends saying, "Dude, you have to play in this guy's game," and not just mine, but like Mike Miller's games, or Rob's games, or whatever.
It's growing.
Right.
It's absolutely.
So I think there's yet hope for Dreamation and DexCon, where we can actually have a nice community of gamers, and that will have some new members, some new blood that we can keep introducing to the thematic, powerful and terrible power of the small press games.
Nice.
Cool.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot,
guys.
Luke.
Yeah. We're here with Clinton R. Nixon, who
Hey,
has
Clinton,
been on
how's
the
it
show
going?
before.
Pretty good.
Cool.
My throat's worn from,
Oh yeah, it's Sunday morning.
but doing well.
Clinton, what do you feel you're here with primarily? Shadow of Yesterday, Lulu.
Well-
What banner are you under?
Now, what's Lulu? I know that until recently I wasn't familiar with it.
Rock on.
So, for our listeners,
No, okay. Lulu is it's a company that allows anyone to publish their own material, whether it be a book or a game or whatever. Primarily in books, but they do calendars and CDs and even DVDs, which I think may be something that can add a lot to games later. So I'm kind of excited about that. I'm here obviously to promote the fact that they can help you publish a role-playing game. The way it works is very interesting in that you get all the materials ready to print something, and then when someone wants to buy it, they go and buy it, and it's printed. So you don't pay for books up front or anything like that.
so you could buy like 1 book at a time then.
Definitely, yes. They do discounts if you want to buy a bunch, but yes, your customers can come and buy 1 at a time, and that way you never have to sit on this big backlog of books anywhere. But yeah, I'm definitely here for them.
And there's a link. There will be a link to that in the links page. There'll be a link to Lulu.com.
Oh, definitely. But the nice thing is I've been a user of them much longer than I've ever worked there, and so they're very happy for me to come and promote my game as well, because being that my game is published to them, it definitely is exposure for them. So I've been promoting the heck out of the Shadow of Yesterday and 2 new games that I have coming out this year. So
What are those?
The Face of Angels, which I know you played in.
Yep.
And then another game called The Prince's Kingdom, which both of them interesting. After this convention, I think I'm even more excited about The Prince's Kingdom at this point. It ran really, really well. So.
What is the Prince's Kingdom, and how did it get written?
The Prince's Kingdom is a version of Vincent Baker's Dogs in the Vineyard, written for play with kids and adults. And it was written actually to celebrate the birth of his new child.
It's like the most lovely game writing story ever.
It was a lot of fun to do. It was a kind of a mad week. I knew I was coming up, and we had to have it done in a week to have it published in time. And but yeah, it was so wonderful writing it. I could think about stuff I knew about him and kind of inserted in there little things. Like there's a king in the game because all the princes are the sons of this one king, and he has a crazy golden beard just like Vincent. So yeah, that was a ton of fun. But I never really intended to publish it, and then Vincent liked it enough that he said, go ahead and publish it, and we're going to donate all the proceeds to a charity of his choice. So
that's awesome.
So it's gonna, I'm excited about it. The funny part is it's good enough that I'm scared that it'll be the game that I'll sell the most of next year, and all the proceeds go away. But to a very, very good cause.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. So talk about the game that went well with Princess Kingdom that you're psyched about.
Yeah, it went exceptionally well. The neat thing is I did simplify the mechanics from the original game. I changed them somewhat, and so it didn't run exactly like Dogs in the Vineyard, which is very good because it's a different sort of game. What the game is about is you all are princes in this kingdom. Both boys and girls can be princes, but you're all princes of the kingdom. And between the ages of 5 and 12, you're sent out into the world by your father, the king, to see the kingdom. The kingdom's a large place full of islands, sort of like an Earthsea type place. And you go out and solve problems and find out what people are really like out in the world, so that when you reach the age of adulthood, 13, you can come back and you can be a wise ruler too. So, and we had a table full of people, 7 young princes. We have a very fecund king here, obviously. 7 young princes all go out in the world, all among the boat. Even the 5-year-old, he snuck out. He wasn't supposed to go. He snuck into the boat. And they had to go stop the island full of two different types of people who were discriminating against each other and infringing on each other's land and upset with each other, and even a big evil sort of Japanese samurai general who wanted to stop them, even going so far as to threaten one with a sword once. But they talked their way out of it and were plucky and smart, and it worked so well. The thing I liked about the mechanics that changed the most is it does in the Vineyard, when you get experience, often you can take an ability and make it bigger or stronger or whatever. Then here you have to choose a new one each time. So it kind of became a running tally of what these little kids learned as they traveled through the islands.
Right.
So.
The movie Narnia just came out somewhat recently. Has there been any influence or effect from that?
Strangely, no. I think there was an effect at the table. There were definitely the same sort of relationships between brothers and sisters being played out.
Right.
Like the older brother definitely had that same sort of. Is it Peter, the oldest brother in the movie?
I think so.
Had the same sort of thing. But I'm actually not a Narnia fan, which is interesting. I loved it when I was a kid, and I recently saw the movie, and seeing it through adult eyes, I didn't like it. So.
I read through a Princess Kingdom when you brought it to Vincent, and I was really struck by the things. I feel like you would play this game with a kid, and like you would end up having a dialogue with really interesting talk with your kid about like war and discrimination and things that go wrong in the world and how to make it right. Like you're raising little political activists or something.
Well,
I think it's really interesting.
That's the point of it. I think those are hard things to talk about with kids, but they're things that kids are interested in. I mean, I've been interested in it since I was young, and I think that kids want to talk about it, and so giving them sort of a safe arena to explore. I mean, I really, truly believe the thing that I love about role-playing games the most, and what I truly believe they are, is a safe place to explore the sort of questions that may come up later on in life. Is it okay to kill if you're really threatened? Is it, these sort of, or if I have 2 loaves of bread and that guy looks hungry, should I share or not? I mean, questions like that in the Princess Kingdom are going to come up. In any role-playing game, even though you're dealing with swords and craziness and elves or whatever, you still have essentially human questions. And so I like having in the Princess Kingdom sort of a safe arena to take your kids and let them explore these questions and figure out what answers might work for them and what answers might not, and that way they can take that to their life later. Has
the game been played by any kids yet?
Unfortunately, no. I need to make some. I haven't done that yet. Working on it. I really expected maybe to see some here, and I've been excited seeing how many kids are actually at Dreamation. It's been pretty great, but I got a table full of people who really like Dogs in the Vineyard and really like my games. It's still, I think it will work. I'm gonna have to definitely, before I release it though, sit down and play it with some kids. So.
Why don't we talk about Shadow of Yesterday a little bit and the Creative Commons license?
Okay.
I think that's a really interesting facet of it that hasn't been talked about yet.
Oh, no problem. The deal with what you're talking about there is the game, as well as most of my other games, and the ones that aren't are moving towards that direction. have all been released underneath the Creative Commons license. Creative Commons is really a sort of a nonprofit that's set up to help you license your material in the way you want, with emphasis on the freedom of that information and that work. There's lots of different choices you can make. I chose probably the most open one, in that anyone can use the text of the work for whatever they like, as long as they attribute the original text to me. So, and the reason I chose to do that is, people borrow games and copy games and whatever anyway. I mean, if I'm worried about someone pirating it, then I've already lost. But it wasn't about that as much as I really wanted to let it go out there. I not only from a moral stance, I enjoyed what I was doing, but I did realize it made very good business sense. And so far, there's 2 people, including Judd here, who have contacted me about using it to make their own games. There's someone currently translating it in Europe right now for their local language, and that's going to get me exposure in a market that I couldn't touch normally.
Right.
It's gotten me lots of publicity, and I cannot tell you how many emails I've gotten where someone said, hey, I went to your website and I downloaded the text of the game and I read it and I really liked it, and so I bought a copy.
Nice.
And that happens all the time.
I think it's really amazing. And Jeff and I are going to start play testing. Jeff and I in the monthly group are going to start play testing my Shadow of Yesterday hack modification, whatever, soon. And I just think it's great. It's just a really fun game.
I'm really excited about that.
It's I think for the traditional fantasy role players, I think it's like the gateway. I think it's the gateway to non-traditional games.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just fantastic.
It's the crazy fantasy role-playing game I always wanted to play. So.
Yeah, it's sex, drugs, and rock and roll
yeah,
with
exactly.
goblins and ratkin.
Exactly.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really rocking. I mean, it really. Yeah.
The interesting thing I find about it at cons, I know at home I feel more comfortable with slightly smaller role-playing groups.
Mm-hmm.
And at cons, I'll end up running Shadow yesterday for 6, 7. Last year I ran it here, I think, for 8 people. And every time I get worried, I freeze when I get to the table and go, oh God, what do I do? And that game, and I don't know how I quite managed to pull this off, but that game works better the more people you throw at it. Every time. When this time I had 6 people, I was at the table, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. I don't think I'm ready for 6 people yelling at me. The game went off without a hitch. It was probably the best game I've ever done.
I mean, just taking like a traditional, Jeff runs a D20 game, and he was trying to think of how to change the way he does XP. And I was going to tell him, look at keys from Shadow of Yesterday.
Right.
And then somebody
else
on
did.
RPG.net,
Yeah.
I think James Nostack, came online. It's like, you need to look at keys. And I was like, yeah, Jeff, that's what I was going to say.
And I did. And I have to talk it over with my players.
Right.
I don't like to just make my own decisions about the game. But yeah, I mean, if they're up for it, yeah, absolutely.
Well, they're a great tool for the lazy GM, which I am. I mean, I write my games to make it easy on the GM because I GM them. And with keys, once people have bought them and get excited about them, you don't have to worry too much about assigning experience again. You can sit back and people can go, hey, I think I should get experience, and you go, oh, yeah, or no. So for me, I mean, I have no bookkeeping in the game because everyone's telling me what they need.
I like how it kind of it's something that kind of gets them a little more involved in the game as a player.
Oh, definitely.
And I'm all about that. So
right, and people, I'm constantly amazed at how people will jump for a reward, and that's not to say anything negative, but in a game that you're playing where you want your character to be in love with the princess or whatever, but you never ever get rewarded for trying to do that. In fact, more and more difficulties thrown at you. Oh, she's in trouble, I've got to go save her, but it's going to be really hard, I might die, I don't know, and there's no reward at the end of the path for you. A lot of times it's just not that exciting. So with keys, I can throw difficulty at you as the GM, which makes for an interesting story, but in the end, if you face that, hey, I get prizes. And so you're like, I will take on that difficulty.
It's the struggle no matter what the outcome, yeah.
Right, because you know that it's going to pay off for you.
I know I've seen players, I know they're going to do something really good when they sit up like they're going to say something, like they're going to do something at a crucial moment, and they go, I don't really know. And I always say, whatever you were just about to do, I'll give you a cookie if you do it. Like, whatever the cookie is, if it's Artha or if it's some XP from keys or whatever it is, I'm like, Yes, that's it. Like whatever just made you uncomfortable, do that, and it's usually awesome. It's usually like game rocking. So yeah, the cookie is a big deal. Like here's a cookie. Yeah. Do something for the cookie, and yeah, generally people will.
Maybe in the Sheriff State 3rd edition, I'll call keys cookie jars.
Cookie jars, yeah.
No, just kidding.
Any particular play at the con that's come up for you that has got your motor running?
Yeah, games that I did not write that I played. I played 2 games, of course, that I have played before, Dogs in the Vineyard and the Mountain Witch, and both of them, as usual, were completely satisfying experiences. Both of those games are really, really neat to me because you have a similar storyline every time you play. Even in Dogs, which you have a different town you go to each time, it's still, I come to a town, I find the trouble, I deal with it. And so the interesting thing for me playing those games often at cons is making new characters and seeing how they fit in that story. And so I got to do that 2 times. And the Mountain Witch was the more interesting one in that I had a character who had an unholy pact with the Mountain Witch. It's normally a very negative thing. I ended up playing it up as like a very, very honorable thing where he had a pact, his life for his masters, and we got to the top of the mountain and had to deal with all that. But the big play for me at the con was last night, With Great Power by Michael Miller. I've never played it before, and I didn't know what to think. I'm not a huge superhero fan, strangely, and so I didn't know, is this going to be good or not. It was amazing, and the weird part is it was incredibly deep in mechanics. I think that's the crunchiest game I have played in about a year, and it was awesome. We had such a good time.
Cool.
But yeah, and you don't even have to play superheroes, as I found out. I thought you might, but I played the President of the United States.
Oh, you
oh,
were the
right,
Pres.
right.
Yeah,
he
it was
talked
great.
about that.
Yeah, he did talk about that.
This is a perfect loop because this brings all of our interviews like around full circle. So like,
cool.
Okay.
This is fantastic.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying I really enjoyed it.
Cool. All right. Hey, Clinton.
Hey.
Thanks for
No problem, Jeff.
being on the show.
Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
Yeah, that's funny that it was you played the president as like Cliff Norris and someone whose name.
Oh yeah, I know. I didn't miss the. Cool.
Cool.
All right, thanks, Judd. I appreciate it.
Yep.